Welcome, everyone. My name is Jen Sharon, NHIA's Chief Operating Officer and your moderator for today's first education series in our NHIA COVID series, Capitalizing on Virtual Sales Efforts in a Post-Public Health Emergency Market, generously sponsored by McKesson, an NHIA Future of Infusion Advisory Council and NHIA Gold member. We truly appreciate McKesson's support for the home infusion industry and the entire COVID-19 series. Building off the success of NHIA's summer series, the NHIA education team created a star-studded lineup of COVID-related education to be held each Thursday from 12 to 1 Eastern Time for the month of October. Please make sure and watch Infusion Express for upcoming sessions and the registration links, or visit NHIA's new website, click on Learn CE Education COVID Series to register for future events or catch up on any education you missed. Just a couple of housekeeping reminders. The presentation is available for download from the handout section of the navigation pane, as well as the speaker bio. The webinar will be recorded. A link to the recording will be emailed to you following the conclusion of the webinar and will also be available via NHIA's website within the next 24 hours. In order to receive CE, please follow the link in the follow-up email and answer a short quiz. Following the presentation, we will have plenty of time to answer your questions. Please submit your questions via the question tab in the navigation pane at any time during the presentation. All right, now on to our presentation. Joining us today to share his expertise is Ty Bello, CEO of Team at Work. Ty is a registered corporate coach with the Worldwide Association of Business Coaches, a highly sought-after speaker and thought leader in the HME, CRT, and infusion therapy industry. Ty provides relevant and best-in-class information, and we are excited to have him with us today. Ty, I know you have a lot of great information to cover, so let's get started.
Wonderful. Jen, thank you. And thank you all, Infusion. Thank you for doing this. NHIA, thank you for sponsoring this great event throughout the month of October. This is going to be really, really fantastic for everybody. And hello, all my friends that are out there that we haven't seen each other for so long, with shows being canceled, etc. So, boy, I'm very excited about our 1 hour time together today and to be able to give you some information and some things that I think are really, really important for all of us, especially now in this public health emergency environment that we are currently in. Something didn't work on that one. Hang on one second. We just got a small technical difficulty, but nothing major. At least I don't think it is anyway. There we are. See how that does. There we go. So, special thanks to our generous series sponsor, McKesson, this week and all the following weeks throughout the month. So thankful for McKesson and all that they do for our industry and for us as businesses and providers that are out there. So thank you again for sponsoring this. And also, let's get into some of the learning objectives, if you don't mind. I really want to focus on a couple of really important things here. Now let me set some a table for us, if you don't mind. First and foremost, I try my hardest to give as much information as I possibly can during all of my presentations. So I'm saying that because I want you to be prepared, and what I'd ask you to do is please take notes. There is a lot of information that I will be sharing during this presentation. For me, I have to always balance the information that I share with application because I'm not there with you. So I provide a lot of information and application so it does not lead to frustration, because information, to me, without application does lead to that. And it leads to a frustrated individual sales rep, and you really have no actionable steps to move forward. And that's what we're not going to do during this webinar. Let's go through these one at a time. I might camp out on one or two of them just a little bit. I want to review virtual sales requests that are currently coming across to you in the home infusion sales marketplace. These are happening, and they're happening more frequently and more regularly. We're going to cover why that is and how we could utilize that to remain top of mind for existing referral sources and also for those prospective referral sources that are out there as well. I want to help you and provide a clear, understandable strategy of the virtual opportunities and how you can engage the referral community while out there to really utilize virtual sales in services to the best of your ability. Next, I want to make sure that we describe and outline what that sales activity. Here's the actionable item. we're going to go through what I believe a successful virtual sales meeting / in-service would look like, should look like for you as you bring it out to the marketplace. We're also going to talk about how do I create a plan, both for leadership and ownership, to adopt this virtual sales meeting as a resource. Now, I want to say this very clearly. I'm probably going to repeat it later on. Owners, leadership, I'm not trying to get into your pocket and have you spend money on more in-services, but I have a theory that I've seen play out over these past several months. And by the way, just so you understand, I have been in contact with dozens of HME, home health and hospice, home infusion therapy providers in the marketplace. It's important to understand that all of these providers, and I know we're home infusion therapy, but all of these providers, we all do a similar thing, and that is we go to the marketplace, to the referral community, and we try to earn their trust to have them call us with a referral. All of us do that. And so I felt like it's always good for me to get a good balance of what's going on in all three of those markets. And it has been. And it has been for me in my coaching, and it has been for me as I'm doing these webinars. So I want you to understand, leaders and owners, that this virtual idea, this virtual sales meeting, I'm again not trying to get into your pocket to gain more money or resources for your team. I'm saying I really believe right now where we are at, and for the foreseeable future, virtual sales in-services are a dynamic component to your sales efforts, okay? So I want you to clearly understand that. And that's why I included you on this learning objective. I want you to understand the adoption process that I'd like for you to seriously consider. Then, how do you engage that referral community? What do you do how do you engage them into this virtual meeting platform and show them that you are an essential resource, Now, I use the word essential there for obvious reasons. That we heard that early on in this pandemic, right? Essential workers, et cetera. Well, from what I've found and what I've learned through this, we have learned a great deal, I believe, as an industry. First, I believe we've learned that the referral community still allowed many of us in to see them early on. And then it's obviously tapered off as this got more serious, which was always serious, but it got more serious as we learned more and more about it. That those sales professionals, big distinction, sales rep, sales professional, I'm not going to get into that now, but those sales professionals that brought value, that were a resource to that referral community, whether that is a physician's office, a clinic, or a discharge planner, case manager, whoever that is, brought value, they continued to have access to the referral community for the most part throughout this public health emergency. Now, I said for the most part, but they definitely had it more than those that only brought, how do I say this gently, food. That's how gently I can say it. They brought calories. And I've said this for 30 years. I want to be a sales professional. You want to be a sales professional that brings content over calories. And it has been evident in the people that I've spoken with in all of those different industries and in our industry, home infusion therapy, that those that brought content and were a resource to those in the referral community continue to enjoy some moderation of access to them, even during some of the highest points of this public health emergency. So that is why I believe this, what we're talking about today, is really critical. How to be more virtual in what we're doing for the present. For the future, I've got some predictions on where I think that might be headed, okay? Well, we've got a polling question. Jen is going to run this. Let me read through it. All of you are getting it right now. How has access to the referral community from the onset of this public health emergency been for you? A, the same, very limited. B, improved, kind of opening up slightly, much better, nearly full access. And then how about D, fully back to normal, completely accessible, okay? So go ahead, take that poll, get your answers in there. Okay, don't read into it. There's not a lot of hidden things in there. I'm not going to surprise you and with some crazy answer or anything else like that. I just want to get a perspective from all of you where you're at. Why? Because I'm hearing different things in different pockets across the country. Some of it is based on the phase that that state might be in and or the resurgence of some of COVID-19 in some of those areas. Absolutely. So we're just trying to get a feel or an idea of what this might look like right now for you.
All
Jen,
right,
any
Tom.
response?
Yeah, everybody's kind of jumping right on it, so we're excited about that. We have 45% saying the same, which is very limited. 45% saying improving, opening up slightly. And then split for the last two on 5% each is much better, almost full access, and fully back to normal.
Awesome. Good answers. Great. And that's great. So that shows all of you, right? All of you that are listening and tuning in, you're not alone. If you are an A saying very limited or B improved but slowly opening up, you've got 45% of each in each group. That's tremendous. Now you know it's not just you, it's not just your community, because I can tell you the folks that are tuning in for this right now are from coast to coast, north and south, okay, and every different size community that you can imagine, and also size of business. So that's great to know. Those of you that are getting much better, nearly full access, super. And those that are fully back to normal, great. See, for you that answered much better or fully back to normal, this too is a valuable asset for you going forward, because you're not quite there. But let's get into that real quick. This statement that's out there, the new normal. I don't use it. I banned myself from saying it, because if this is the new normal, I want off the ride. Okay, this is not good. I don't like this. I don't think any of us like this for a host of different reasons. But as a sales professional who thrives and loves getting out there and making sales calls every single day, to be squelched by this back, A, very limited, B, opening up slightly, it just doesn't feel right. So if this is the new normal, I want off the ride. This isn't what I signed up for 30 years ago, right? Okay, but I don't think this is the new normal. I think this is the new environment that we find ourselves in right now as we approach the new normal. I have no idea what that new normal looks like. I don't know when it's going to come about, but I do know that what we're going to talk about today is a component of this new environment. And as we migrate closer and closer to that destination, that new normal, whatever that is, better than it was before, look, I always believe this. I'm an optimist. It will be better than it was before. It will take on a different shape and form and structure, process than before. We have got to be like Marines. We've got to adapt. We've got to improvise. We've got to overcome, so that when we arrive at that new destination, we're prepared, we're equipped. And that's what this is about today. One step in equipping you for that new environment, the migration as we get there, right? So good job. Great job on answering the poll. Really appreciate that. Valuable information. So let's take a look at this. The current marketplace, what's going on? Well, we got the feedback from all of you. You know what's going on, but let's look at it realistically, okay? From what I'm hearing and what you just said. Physicians' offices, clinics, right? Clinics or suites, constantly changing. Accessibility? Sure. Absolutely. Sure. I would believe that. But let me give you an example. Just last week, speaking with one sales representative in the state of Florida, Orlando to be specific, said this to me. I went and called on 2 different physicians in a medical office building. Both physicians' offices, both, were owned by the same parent company. Okay, owned by the same parent company. Both were in the same specialty. Walked right in to this office, spoke with the lovely lady at the window. I'll leave that alone, which most of you know what I call that person. Spoke to her and even got access behind to the people that actually give the referrals. Walked down the hallway, went to that other office, remember, same parent company, was stopped at the door, could not even get in. If you have any information, I'll pass it on to the doctor. That was it. That's what we're finding. How many times, if you had a nickel for how many times you've seen a sign out there as you're making sales calls, no sales reps allowed, okay? Whoever thought we would see that sign, right? Unbelievable, but it's out there. I've got a prediction. It's not going away. It's not. I'm a realist also, okay? Let's think about this in our position, in the shoes that we wear, the shoes of a sales professional going out there. I read a study a number of years ago. On average, a physician's office sees 21 sales representatives per day. Now, the study said 17. This was around 12 years ago. So that's the only study that I've read. So I've just added a little bit to that of how many other reps are out there, and I've raised it up to 21. That's full disclosure. So if you want to compromise that between 17, 21, give me 19, I'll take 19. That's fine. Think about that. With COVID-19 now as another obstacle, not objection, it's not an objection, it's an obstacle, to the sales representative from coming in here that I could use as a medical practice, I now can increase the number of patients that I see on a daily basis and spend time with. I'm a businessman too, or woman. I'm trying to be profitable. The more patients I see, the better I am. Do you think some of those officers are going to let go of that no reps allowed? No, they're just not. Some will not. So I don't think it's going completely away. Again, we're on the destination to the new environment. I think this is going to be part of the new environment that we're going to be in. I don't think one day, all of a sudden, everyone rips their signs, no sales reps allowed. Okay, so we adapt, improvise, overcome. Have got to continually think about ways that we could gain access to them. And this is just one of several, right? Ways that we could do that. What about hospitals? Still pretty restricted, right? Still pretty restricted. Case managers, sales reps that I'm coaching right now, I might be meeting them out in the parking lot. All intent and purposes, might be meeting them out in the parking lot. Have to, don't have a choice. Can't get into the hospital. Okay, the virtual in-service that we're going to talk about to both of these locations, absolutely. Great tool to consider, okay? Long-term care facilities, SNFs, very delayed, not accessible, not necessarily the biggest component of the business that we do. So not really concerned about that here, but it is a part of some of the business that we do. Got that. Access to them? Not sure, don't know. Talked to several long-term care, assisted living, SNF facilities, owners that I know personally for the foreseeable future. No, they're not going to allow many of us in, if any, at all. And there's going to be, it's just going to be different going forward. So we have to look at that. So that's the current marketplace, and you answered the poll already very, very well. So what is this? How do we request this home infusion sales virtual in-service? How do we do this? So in lieu of accessibility issues that we got, all of us have got, what are we going to do? Well, we've got to, okay, owners, leaders, this is where I said I'm not trying to get in your pocket. We've got to increase the number of in-services that we do. Now, obviously, in-services come in face-to-face or now virtual, right? So we've got to increase the number of in-services that we do. We've got to increase the number of virtual in-services. So there's the face-to-face and there's the virtual ones. And then we also have to increase the opportunities for continuing education. Let me camp on that for just 1 second, okay? This is a CE in-service that you are getting through the National Home Infusion Association. Great. What are you doing about that? How can you do that? What can you do? See, the nurses and staff that we are calling on, case management and otherwise, still need CEs. Now, please note, I've done as good a homework job as I can on this. I know that many of those, let's say, foundational organizations over those individuals have waived this year's requirement or postponed or pushed out this year's requirement for CEs. I got that. But they still need CEs. And the more they can build up, the better it is. So if you could use that, if you could do this, if you could create a CE presentation, I'm saying that might differentiate you from other providers that are out there that are also doing in-services as well. So this is one thing you might seriously consider, okay? You might seriously consider. Now, the strategy and how to engage the referral community is a process, one that I embrace, one that I enjoy, and one that I think we could walk through step by step. So let me explain accessibility concerns as I would to the referral community. First and foremost, we know that they know that we are having accessibility issues or problems. We don't have the accessibility that we had before. And something that we might consider saying to them would be, as I get in front of them, which we're going to talk about that in a second, considering the accessibility, lack of accessibility that I currently have with you as a referral source, we find significant value in providing you with educational in-services on our products and services, and would appreciate the opportunity to do such an in-service for you either face-to-face or virtually. That's it. That has to be an upfront conversation that you have with them. They know you're not getting in. You know you're not getting in. We can't live in this world of mutual mystification that nobody addresses it. We cannot survive without access, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, if this is a good referral of yours, you personally, say your name, of mine, Sue, Ty, Mike, Paul, whoever you are, and I'm Ty Bello and I'm in your marketplace, I am figuring out a way to still get that business from you. One way or another, I'm going to get it from you. So we have to, even in our existing referral communities, A, B's, or C's, we still have to do this and show the value that we could bring to them so that we continue to be an essential referral for them to make. Makes sense, right? It flows. The virtual in-service is an alternative. We would love to do a face-to-face, as long as you qualify that, right? As long as you qualify that there is a reason to do the face-to-face or the in-service period. Because don't forget, these take time, they take talent, that's you, and it's a resource. It's a financial investment that you're making in this, without question, in multiple ways. So we want to make sure before we just go out there and just say, oh, we're just going to start doing virtual in-services everywhere. Please note, it's being recorded. I'm not saying that. Let's qualify every single one of them. You're going to see a plan that I'm going to give you, how we do that, why we do that, and when we execute that, okay? So the virtual in-service is an alternative. Is this going to go away as we approach that new normal in this current new environment that we find ourselves in? No, it's not. I think that will still be out there. I think this will be a mixture going forward of face-to-face in-services that you will be able to do with some of the referral community, and virtual in-services that you will also be able to do. I think there will be a mixture of that as we go forward. Now, another polling question. Here we go. Again, when you take this, take it quickly. You're doing a great job. Which of the following alternative sales call methods have you incorporated during this public health emergency? A, in-services, face-to-face. You've done more of those. Virtual in-services, okay, virtual in-services. C, phone, email, text, or faxes. And then D, all of the above, okay? I have a hope for the answer here. I won't share it yet. Let everyone vote. Let's see how we've done. Again, which of the following alternative sales call methods have you incorporated during this public health emergency? Okay, as quick as you were the last time, I'm sure you've already got your answers. How are we doing, Jen?
All right, Ty, we've in-services is at 2%, which I'm face-to-face in-services. We have virtual in-services at 18%, phone, email, text, and faxes at 42%, and all of the above at 38%.
Okay, all right. Hey, you heard it. I mean, that's a direct poll of all of you that are listening in. You're sales professionals from across the country in the discipline of home infusion therapy. There's your answer. Now, you want to hear my answer? All of the above. Where you can do face-to-face, you should do face-to-face. But again, you got to find them, right? It's like walking up to that door and it says no sales rep. Okay, what am I going to do next? Go to the next place. Well, you ask for the face-to-face, okay? Because face-to-face to me is really good. Doing an in-service or virtual in-service is a little bit different than doing a face-to-face in-service. And there's structure. There's a process behind both of them, and they differ ever so slightly. But without that process, both execution and the outcome don't happen as well as it could. It happens, but just not the way it could happen, guys, okay? So I think all of the above. If you listened in on any of the other in-services that I've done or anything else like that, any things that I've written, I've said that this phone call and email and texting and faxing is what I phrased as outreach, okay? It's outreach. Now, let me explain real quickly, okay? We are outside sales professionals. We make our living by going out to the referral community and do prospects that are in the referral community to earn their trust, to get them to pick up the phone, send a fax, send an electronic referral over to us for whatever therapy it is. That's what we do. We get paid to do that, right? And a host of other things, but that's what we get paid to do. So for me, that is what I've always done for 30 years as an outside sales rep. I've always done some component of outreach to my referral base and even do prospects, okay? Outreach, phone, email, text, faxes, always done that, 30 years, always done that. But now, in this environment that we're in, during this public health emergency, that has become a little bit more. So before, I was 90% outside sales professional and 10% outreach. Early on in the pandemic, I was 40% outside sales professional, 60% outreach. And where are you at now? How are you balancing that? Please note, not a prediction, I'm just telling you. The new environment is a mixture of both. It's both. You've got to incorporate both. You've got to incorporate face-to-face and virtual out there while you're making outside sales calls. And you've got to still maintain your outreach. Your outreach. Very, very important for us, okay? For all of us to adopt this process. Okay, let's go on. Good stuff. Good job. Great answering the question. I think I've got to sneeze and I don't want to. See if I can fight it off. Let's try. Sorry about that, guys. I really apologize. Okay, so we went through these first two. That's why they're grayed out. Let's go to the third one. I want to have a clear and defined list of in-services that I can provide. Do you have a list today? Some of you do. Good job. Some of you, no, not really. Okay, kind of a homework assignment number one. If you're going to do this, then I need a list, right? I need a list. Now, your choice here. You can either share that list with the referral community as you engage them to discuss the face-to-face or the virtual in-service, or you can have that in your pocket that you already know you're going to do. And let me say why this is. I always like to ask the referral source, whoever that is, if I'm going to do a face-to-face or a virtual in-service, what are some things that you've heard before? What are some things that you would like to hear about our products and services? Any specific area, IgG, antibiotic, anti-infective, TPN, what can we share with you? The what have you heard before? Let's face it, your competition's out there doing in-services too. You know that, right? Okay, what did they hear from them? Do you want to repeat that? Well, I've got a whole theory about that one. We're going to do another webinar to do that one, okay? But I want to balance this out. I want to balance this out by understanding that. So do I give them the list and show them all the ones I've got so they can choose, or do I ask the questions like I just did? Again, that is your choice. Here's the thing. This is definitely homework. You always have a list. You always have the list in your Padfolio. You always have the list, okay? Always. But whether you share it or not is your decision, all right? The process is, this is your decision here. That's why I think it's so valuable. Consider providing CE education through the in-service. And for more information about that, just do a little bit of research on that. I mean, I hate to volunteer Jen's knowledge here, but you know, take a look at what it takes to get a continuing education program through so that people can get 1 credit, 1.5 credit, 2 credit, whatever it is. Start doing that. Because again, they're going to need them. Whether they need them right now or not so sure. Early on, they did. That was before everyone kind of put a halt or grandfathered in or extended the timetable. So just consider that, okay? Consider doing that. I think it's very valuable for us. Have an in-service structure already established, okay? Now, listen, 30 years, I can almost remember the exact day and time that I did my very first in-service. I can tell you it was with a family practitioner here in the Fort Wayne marketplace. This was pre-infusion therapy in my life. This was respiratory. And I could remember that I went in pretty prepared to do a presentation. And what I found was they weren't planned for me to do a presentation. It was going to be like a dine and dash. You know, they'd come in, they'd grab the food, thank you, appreciate it, see you later, goodbye, and that was it. And I got 3.5 minutes up. I was lucky at that point in time with the doctor, okay? 30 years ago. So I had to learn a whole bunch of different things, and this is what I learned. I had to have a structure. But maybe more importantly, before this, I have to know what the in-service structure is for them. If I'm doing a face-to-face, doesn't it help me understand what's the format like here in your office for an in-service? Do I get 20 minutes worth of time? That's what I'd like to have, 15 or 20 minutes. Do I get to Q&A? Is this a dine and dash? Will the doctor / the referral source be there, the person that ultimately makes the decision about my products and or services? There's a whole lot that goes into this. We cannot, owners, you're gonna like this, leaders, you're gonna like this. You can't go out there and just schedule an in-service without answering those questions. You just can't, plus a host of others. You've got to get an understanding of what you're about to do. Let me give you a quick, easy outline. This is it, it's real simple. You have a basic introduction. Got it, basic introduction. You want to introduce yourself. You want to introduce your company. You want to introduce the longevity of your company. You want to introduce the products and services that your company provides. Then you want to move to the purpose in the in-service and the education. The purpose of today's in-service is to cover our TPN therapy process, both from a process and a therapeutic side, and how we will take care of and manage your patients in the home setting in conjunction with your efforts with us, okay? Whatever it is. Then what's the learning objective? Now, all of these things are stated up front. Up front. Today, we hope that you will walk away with a better understanding of our process and our protocol as it relates to TPN patients that you would entrust in our care and how we will work together. And then finally, the call to action. That is not now. That is later on, okay? The call is later on. But I'm going to introduce the call to action now. I do not want to set up this in-service and go through this in-service and have them wonder, well, why are they doing this in-service? Well, it's no daggone secret. I'm a salesperson. Why do you think I'm doing it? Just because I like to? No, I'm doing it because I want to earn your trust to get a referral. I want you to stop using my competitor, right? I want you to start using me. I want you to start using me more. I want to earn the right to get more, whatever that might be, right? But I'm going to state it up front because they got to know we're not going to go down this 20-minute, 30-minute, whatever it is, time frame that you've got with them and not qualify what our call to action really is, okay? So that's the basics right there. The strategy and how to engage the referral community, there it is. Okay, now what? Well, as we migrate through this, what do we do with this virtual meeting and this in-service? What do we really need to do? We've got to prepare, right? We've got to prepare. And you might not have thought through this that well, but you probably have. You're a very smart sales professionals. Have no doubt that you've already thought this through. So number one, you got to decide on the platform. What platform are you going to use? You know, there's 7 or 8 different ones that are out there. You got to find one that's comfortable with you, that does a good job, kind of like this platform does a great job. Honestly, I'm not going to promote the platform that's out there that does a good job. You've just got to look it up, and easy to use, right? For you, easy for them to see, okay? Then you've got to pull together this PowerPoint kind of thing. How many slides are you going to have? How are you going to incorporate your logo down in that bottom left like NHIA is down there? What are you going to do with that? Then you've got to work on it and come up with a template for that and get that built. And what will it have as far as content? I'll say this. I try my hardest to practice. I'm going to give you a PowerPoint tip. I try my hardest to practice what I call 5 by 5. 5 by 5. 5 words, 5 bullet points, no more. This right here is enough of meat for you to see, right, in one slide. And for me, let me just say this. Don't worry about the slide transitions and the flipping and all that other stuff like I put into mine. In this setting, less is better. Just get it out there, okay? Get it out there. I also recommend this. I love polling questions. So I love in a presentation like this, a virtual in-service, for there to be a pause button, whether that is a question that you ask, which it should be, or a question, we're going to get into this, a question that you might have on a sheet for them, which you see down there, right? So whatever that is, I think that needs to be put in there. How do you remember when to do it? It's just like we did here with the polling question, right? It's like a little trick of the trade. I don't have to memorize when that polling question's coming up because it's going to come up as a slide. And I'm going to be able to say, okay, Jen, we got another one. That's it, right? So you're going to be able to do that, make that bold so they can answer it, and sit, be patient. Wait for them to give you an answer. You can't sit there for 30 minutes, but don't just jump right in and answer it for them, okay? Handouts, PDFs, brochures. Are you going to deliver them in advance? If it's a live one, no, you're going to bring them with you. But if it's a virtual one, yeah, you might want to consider that. Am I going to email that and post the in-service? What am I going to do? See, everyone's got differing opinions about this. I actually like them to have the material in front of them. But I'm bold enough to say, now look, I gave you the material. I don't want you to read it right now. I gave it to you to read later on. Let me give you an overview of what I've given you. Okay? So same thing there. You want them to hear your words, not get distracted by what they're reading there. Okay? And then last but not least, you've got to create this learning sheet. And you're going to get a post webinar today, kind of a Q&A or true and false, a couple of questions from me. Okay, so you need to prepare some sort of a sheet that what you're going over, that they have some fill in the blanks. See, that gets them engaged. That gives them involved in your meeting as well. And I think it's always very, very helpful. And you put that all together with all of the things. By the way, on the brochures and the handouts and things like that, guys, look, I read them every month. I mean, there's all my ear tags is right there. Those are all the articles that I read these past 2 issues. These are phenomenal resources. There's meat in there that you could utilize. You could also research for other white papers that have been written. Always ask your pharmacists and other clinicians that are on your team, what have you read? Share that with me. Make an assessment as to whether or not that's valuable for me to bring out to the referral community or not. See, all of that could fit in as you're structuring this in-service, that list of in-services that you're going to provide. What's the material that you're going to hand out? What are the articles that are going to support that? How is that going to go? Okay, just think that through. Okay, just think that through. What's the format? Okay, so you're asking them a little bit about the format, but in a virtual format, it's a virtual format. They're going to tune in at noon like you did. Now the question is, when do you deliver the food? For most of them, right? The question is, when do you deliver the food? Okay, I've seen it work in a couple of different ways. Before the meeting actually starts, so they can be settled in, etc. Or after the meeting starts, 10 to 15 minutes, but then they get disrupted by that because then they're up there trying to serve themselves. I guess it really depends on how much time you actually get. And by the way, I'm going to be very upfront and very bold with you. If I'm offered 5 minutes of their time to talk for an in-service, no. If I'm offered 10 minutes, no. 15 minutes or greater, that's it. And I might even put the bar in some places at 20. If I'm bringing this value to them, 5 minutes, sorry, that is nearly a slap in the face. 10 minutes, almost a slap in the face. You've got to hold your ground. And I don't mind you saying something like this. My coach really wants me to get 15 to 20 minutes of presentation time. It's engaging, I promise you. It will be fulfilling. You will get information that you really, really will value, that will change the lives of the patients that you are caring for. But can I please get 15 or 20 minutes? Ask. You've got nothing to lose. because 5 or 10, I don't know what the outcome of that might be. I'm a little leery about the outcome of that outcome might be. What's the follow-up format? Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, the basic intro, the purpose, the learning objectives, etc., call to action. Begin the education. Please note the education. This is an educational in-service. Yes, I want you to go over the operational side of your business. They need to understand, how does a referral transfer from them to you, and then what takes place next, and what information do we give back? Absolutely. Have questions ready for them, as we already discussed, and close by asking for the business and then follow up, right? Close by asking for the business. And some instances on these, face-to-face or virtual, I might even say, have we helped you put top of mind a patient or patients that might benefit from our services that we provide? And if so, I'm not asking you for those names. I'm asking you to keep us in mind. Should we be able to service them, we would be honored to do that. That's how I close. It's a very soft close, okay? Very soft close. Okay, polling question, here we go. Next one. For those who have conducted virtual in-services, how do they compare to face-to-face in-service? Remember, I shared my theory, a little bit different, right? A virtual in-service are easier than live in-services. Virtual are more difficult than a live in-service. Difficult to keep the participants' attention in both types of in-services. Those are the only answers I gave you choices of, but then you can choose D or E, which is A and C or B and C. Now, I think this is important, and I'm thankful that all of you are participating, so answer quickly, that I think for you to hear this from others around the country will help you glean just a little bit more about what's going on out there. And then I'm going to give you some tools of how to make this a little bit easier for you. So Jen, any answers yet?
Yeah, there's coming in. We're just going to give them just maybe a second or two more here. It looks like, yeah, all right. Let me share the results. Here we go. All right, so we have virtual in-services are easier than live in-services, 21%. Virtual are more difficult than live, 29%. Difficult to keep participants' attention in both types, 7%. And A and C is 14% and B and C is 29%. Kind of split.
Yeah, kind of split. Wow, that was good. Thank you guys very much for answering that. All right, so we know then it can be, I'm just going to take C, okay? Either way, it's hard to keep their attention. I believe with what I've already given you in that format, that will help you keep their attention. Listen, it's just like doing this webinar for you, okay? I'm here in Studio B, right? Team at work, headquarters of the world, whatever. And I'm trying to be as motivational as I can and give you as much enthusiasm as I can in my presentation. I'm not suggesting that you go in there and you start bouncing off walls like I may do in a presentation like this, but you've got to be energetic and you've got to understand your format. I've understood this format for this presentation a month or so ago. Jen asked me for this months ago. So I've been preparing, and that's what you have to do. And after you do that same presentation, that same virtual in-service on that same product or service, it will just become natural to you. And you'll find things in there that you could have done better. Now, please note, I'm going to share that with you. If there's any type of post webinar a grade point for me, I want to know. I'm constantly trying to get better. You should do the same with the virtual in-services or the face-to-face. Are you getting better? Is it flowing better? Are you seeing you're getting more engagement? Look, at every office is always different. Every audience is always different, okay? So you've got to adapt even there and be prepared, okay, as best you can. Now, the virtual sales meeting and in-service, let me give you a couple of things here. Now, to me, follow-up from that virtual in-service that you've done is equally as important as the value of the in-service itself. It is, because it is proven that if you just do the in-service and you leave, done. Nothing. If you're waiting for the phone to ring, you might get it. I'm not waiting for the phone to ring. I want to take a proactive approach to this. I provided value. I want to make sure that they know I provided value, and I'm going to follow that up very thoroughly, very thoroughly. Number one, something I really do. I love this. I enjoy this. I've got dozens that I do every single month, okay? Handwritten thank you note within 2 to 3 days. To Ty, everybody that was in the meeting. So go back a few slides in your mind, right? The CE, continuing education, got to have a sign-up sheet, right? Great, you're going to get everybody. Make sure on the sign-up sheet you had their title, okay? You know the address. Got that, that's not a problem. Did he just say address? Yeah, he did. So does he mean he doesn't want us to drop them off? You're good. Good job listening. You're right. Spend the money on the stamp. The average American today will receive 7, number's gone up just a little bit, 7 pieces of personalized mail this year. That includes birthdays and holidays. You want to stand out? There you go. This is a good follow-up. 2 to 3 business days. Handwritten note. Yes to all of them. Yes, mail. Absolutely. Follow-up material as promised. If you have follow-up material, see, I always keep something kind of in my pocket, right? Oh, I've got another article. I didn't bring it. I'll get that to you right away. Does that mean I get to go back? Sure does. Yeah. If you can. If you can't, because you did a virtual in-service, you still might not be able to have access. Okay, then how am I going to get it? Well, you can still drop it off. There's somebody there. You might have to slide it under the door or through the window, but get it there, okay, one way or another. And this is going to be sent to the key people that are there, right? Next thing here is phone call within 1 week of the in-service. Phone call within 1 week of the in-service. Remember, it's virtual, so you're really not getting in. As far as we know, you're not able to gain access. So I want to make sure I make contact with that person. And by the way, as they are exiting, that key person, whoever that key person is, as they are exiting the meeting, I want to stop them and say, you know, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Would you mind if I just give you a follow-up call next week? I would just like to follow up, and I'd like to get a better understanding about how this went, okay? And what information, other information you might need from me. Okay, I think that's very, 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 very important. You thank them, obviously, on that. You ask the key items that they learned. I'm already setting the table for that individual before they leave the meeting. And then you ask for a referral. Well, I was hopeful that the information that we shared with you during that in-service was valuable enough that we're beginning to earn your trust. As you've thought about those patients, as I pictured them for you, did you think of anyone this week possibly that could have benefited from our services? And how do I continue to earn your trust to maybe get that very first referral? Because typically, now that was obviously a scenario with a prospect, right? So that's what I'm going to say to a prospect. What I'm going to say to an existing referral source is, I'm trying to earn more of your trust, right? I'm trying to earn more of your trust. Now, some of you would say, I get everything out of that office, and I believe you, and that's great. So then you would have to change that dialogue just a little bit, okay? Just a little bit. Not a problem at all. So plan that both leadership and ownership can buy into. Remember, I told you, I'm not getting in your pocket. I promise I'm not, okay? But you've got to understand. What's the time and the resources that are needed to really put this virtual program together? Well, you got staff, salesperson, right? You might have somebody that has to help me with PowerPoint or something like that. Because listen, salespeople, don't take this offensively, please, okay? Our job, I said this before, is out on the road. I don't want you spending time worrying about PowerPoint, worrying about pulling all the information together and stuff like that. Too much time. We need to be out there where we can go and make sales calls, right? We already heard about accessibility. It was the first poll. We already heard about that. It's getting better. Okay, so I want to make sure that you're out there. If you're the only one there that can do this, then you have to. But let's get it done. Let's get it done well. Get it done well. But you can't spend weeks on this. Okay, we can't spend weeks on this. Next thing, who will do all of the work for this virtual meeting? Sales team members? Okay, leaders? Yeah, this has got to be a collaborative effort. People have got to take homework. You might even get some of your clinicians involved. That's totally fine. Because when we deliver this in-service, that list of in-services, we have to make sure we have a good description and good learning objectives. And then what comes behind that? all of the different handouts that we're going to give, and the handout that we're going to keep back, and then what my follow-up is going to be. So it's a full program. It's a full process. Okay. Next, we need to create that cache of virtual meetings. Talked about that early on in the slides, right? So that's that list of all the different virtual in-services that we might be able to do. And then how much time should this take? Well, each virtual meeting will take anywhere between 2 to 6 hours to actually build and develop. That's based on my experience, okay? Yes, for some of you, it's going to be learning PowerPoint. It's going to be one of the hardest things to do, but it's not that complicated. You know, God created Google on the 8th day, so you can look up how to use PowerPoint. It's not that difficult at all to use, realistically, okay? And then obviously it's going to take some time. This is where the others being involved on the team to go ahead and grab all the other resources that are out there, the articles, the white papers, et cetera, that you want to present. That's going to be very helpful. But I'm going to tell you it's between 2 to 6 hours to develop one, not just the list, to develop one individual one, 2 to 6 hours, okay? What other resources will you need? Well, additional training on PowerPoint, possibly, and also additional training on the virtual platform. See, even though we've used this a dozen times, I had a little slide mix up. My mouse was on this monitor when it needed to be on that monitor, so I can go through it, and I do this every single day, but it happens all the time. It just happens. I try to learn it, make sure I'm prepared, but there was a glitch. That's it. Though that minor glitch is okay. What you don't want is all of a sudden, I wasn't talking, I was faking. You don't want to make sure your microphone just doesn't go out, right? You just got to make sure that those things are working properly, right? Before you get engaged in the in-service, because you have to look professional. So the plan for you guys, here's what I'm saying. Inspect what you expect, right? You know this, right? Virtual is part of this new normal destination that we're on our way to, right? It's part of it. We've got to now ramp up for it, because I do not believe, as a sales coach who's been in this industry for 28 years, okay, infusion therapy for 28 years, this is not going away. It will not be as prevalent as it is right now because of accessibility, but it will not go away going forward. Next, you've got to create a budget. Okay, this is just basic business. You've got to create a budget. How am I going to get all of this put together? And then, by the way, once you create this list and you create all of these in-services that you're going to do, the list it's a living document. It's got to change as new therapies and new drugs and so forth come out, and new processes are adopted by you. That's all got to change and morph with time, over time. Next, you've got to develop a target list. This is, if you listen to anything else, you got to really, really listen to this. I do not want your sales team member, you do not want your sales team member, you do not want to go out there and just start scheduling in-services everywhere that your eyes meet. Absolutely not. Not what we're after. We're after a very targeted approach to this. So I want to go after those people that give me business today, my referral base, to make sure that I'm staying top of mind and that the competition isn't moving in there. And then I want to educate them on new things that we've been doing during this environment that we find ourselves in. And then, yes, I want to do in-services to qualified prospects. Qualified, just because they've got a shingle outside their window and it says neurologist does not mean that's qualified. That means it's highly likely they're qualified. You, my friend, have got to go in there as a sales professional, and you've got to start chipping away and finding out whether or not you really should. I know you can, whether you should do an in-service there or not. So qualified, targeted list. And leaders, owners, Q4. Welcome to Q4 2020. Here we are. What are you going to do in 2020? What are you going to do, and how are you going to finish out the year with a bang? You've got an opportunity over these next 90 days to incorporate virtual in-services into your business with a very targeted referral base and prospect list, and build this program with your sales team, clinicians, and other support staff that you possibly can find. So let's do that, right? Let's make Q4 really memorable. Not like the rest of the year hasn't been memorable, but let's make this one memorable, all right? Then you've got to develop that quarterly plan. See, I believe that. That's why I'm thankful. This was October 1st. Develop the quarterly plan. So what I do this quarter is going to be different than Q1 and Q2 and Q3. My list might have changed. My targets more than likely will change, except you're going to run into some that are on your target list. You know, no in-services right now, virtual or otherwise. Nah, not right yet. Okay, put them on your want to list. I want to do one with them. I just didn't get a chance yet. Okay, move them to Q1. Maybe you can do it next year with them. All right, let's take a look at that, okay? Next, set expectations with the sales team. Ty, this isn't a sale. This isn't like I want this many TPN or this many hydration and this many antibiotic and this many anti-infectives and this many Remicade or whatever it might be. You know, you're wrong. It is. This is part of what I do. You see, if what I believe is true, and I believe it's true, that if we do in-services and we've pre-qualified where we're doing them, even with existing referral sources, we will see an increase in referrals. And especially with prospects, if we've done our job and we've done the format that I laid out, and we've not left mutual mystification, those gaps in what we're really there for, linger, and we do our follow-up, we will get and earn their trust to get business. So yes, expectations, set goals for your sales team. If you do this many in-services with prospects, this is my expectation. How do you feel about that? Is that realistic? Let's be realistic. Let's not think that we're going to go in, do an in-service, and all of a sudden, boom, we're going to get all their business. That does happen, but that's like 1/10 of the time, okay? We're trying to earn their trust, and that takes time, just takes time. Next, measure the outcomes. Every month, review. If I did a bunch of virtual in-services or face-to-face in-services and my numbers back in September, yesterday going backwards, how did I do? How did it work? Ty, you did 3 prospect in-services last month, all virtual. 2 of them have given us referrals so far and 1 0. Okay, 2 have given us, that's good. Now, I, as a sales professional, I already know they did that because I knew when they gave it, because the office let me know or my CRM let me know. Awesome, this is great. Okay, I got it. But the one that didn't, hey, listen, I've known this the whole time because I'm a sales professional. I did my follow-up. I did my handwritten notes like Ty told me to do. I did the hand carrying out of other documentation that I told them I would bring. I've even gone back there and tried to get in again. Okay, good, you're doing your job. That's exactly what you need to do, okay? So measure the outcome, review it every month. This is no different than sales calls. The number of sales calls you make, the type of sales calls you make, all of those, if you will, all of that sales process, not technique, process that you're doing, okay? That's what we're after. So engage the referral community, essential resource, right? We want to here, pre-virtual planning, a couple of things we want to have, right? We want that pre-selected target group, this kind of little review. What do you want to accomplish when you go into that meeting? Understand the referral history of that organization. Know the competition that's in there if you possibly can. Know the office, the facility, or the department as best as you can. The staff, who they are, how long they've been in practice. You've got to do your due diligence on those places as well. I find that very, 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 very informative for us so we don't walk in blindly. Now, some of the things, I got to go back. I'm just going to go back right there. Know the office, facility, and the department. What I'm also asking for there is if you can get this out of them, like what their payer mix is, that would be really, really helpful. Medicaid, Medicare, managed care, what's the mix? Any specialty insurances that you deal with in this area that nobody else does? I want to know that going in there so that I know if we can service them coming out. They come out, they start calling you up. And 90% of their business is with XYZ insurance. Guess what? We don't take XYZ insurance. Okay. That's what we're trying to get to. We've got to have and understand them, right? The key people that are in the network and network. That's what's meant there by there. If you've never been in this office, it's a prospective office that you're trying to go after. Do you know other offices that might be in the area? Do you know anybody in that office that might know somebody in the office that you're going to go do the in-service with? Let's network. Let's find out. Prerequisite. Who will be in attendance? These are things you have to ask. You've got to find this out. Who's going to be in there? Get a list of the names and by department and their titles. Right? Provide a sign-in sheet for your records only. That's what you can say. But realistically, you're going to send a note to them, right? Length of time that you will have to actually present. I already told you what my number is, so I hope you use it. I hope it works for you. Next, what will the virtual in-service cover? What do they need to learn about your business, your services, or your process? How can we impact their patients with the products and services that we provide? What in-services have you heard in the past, or have been provided to you in the past? Okay, this is all the prerequisite stuff. So you see, an in-service is not an in-service and not an in-service. If you've been doing it somewhere else, to me, this has been a very good structure or process that has helped dozens of home infusion therapy sales representatives across the country really gain some great value from the in-services that they conduct. Okay, so transform your sales position, calories to content. Become an educational resource. That is the end of the game. We have got to change. We've got an opportunity right now. I call it the pandemic pivot. Like that, the pandemic pivot. We've got to pivot on what was to what needs to be and what is. And I'm going to say this, and they don't pay me to do this. I'm going to tell you right now, as far as a national association, NHIA is top of the game. The Infusion Magazine, top of the game. They are a phenomenal resource. I've been getting all of their emails for years, but I'm going to tell you, they have stepped it up during this COVID environment. They have helped you become that educational resource. If you've let them, that's the difference. I still talk to reps today that haven't changed the way they used to play the game. I've got news for you. The game has changed. So if you're not winning at the game, you've got to change the way you play. Now's the time to change the way you play. Okay, in my humble opinion. Really ask for the business, right? No more of this mutual mystification stuff. Let's ask. You're a sales rep. They know what you're there for, but make sure they do. Make sure they do. Really understand what you're there for, right? Soft closes, but a hard ask. I'm going to close softly. Hope this resonated with you. Hope this brought top to mind some patients who might benefit from our services and products. And then the hard ask is when you go back, it's just there, right? I'm running out of time, so I'm sorry for that. The soft close, you're going to get these slides. Forgive me. I'm not going to go through these, but you can see, is there anything I can do for you today, right? How will we be able to work together to benefit your patients? Just some ideas. You're good sales professionals, smart sales professionals. Write these out. Write these things out so that you can say them when you're out there. All right. Jen, that is it. There's my information, okay, for all that stuff. I'd love to have you sign up for our pep talks, and that's the end of the commercial. Jen, do we have any questions that I can maybe answer, try to answer?
Yeah, we have a couple. So Ty, thanks so much. Great information. You always make me so excited. I want to get right back out there and get right back into home infusion, right? So just a couple of questions. And coming in, you talked a little bit about understanding the operations or being able to give some education, but then talking a little bit about how your operations works. Kind of pivoting a little bit, how do you recommend home infusion providers train their sales staff so that they understand the operations of what they're selling? I think sometimes personally that's been a challenge, right? Outselling, but don't have a good idea of how the whole operation works.
Sure. So I always use this, Jen, as an example. You're going to laugh. A lot of other people are going to laugh. How many of you are familiar with a company called Zappos? And I know already people are already laughing. Guys, the men that are out there saying, who's Zappos? What are they? Some are, some aren't, okay? Okay, do you know what the onboarding process is at Zappos? 8 weeks. 8 weeks. To onboard in any position in that company. They literally sit in all these different seats over an 8-week period of time before they actually get released to go and sit in their own chair. Wow. We don't have 8 weeks. I know we don't have 8 weeks, but what do we have? Because I got to tell you, if I'm the face, if I'm the mouthpiece that's out there representing our company, I need to know it because part of my role, I'm a storyteller when I get out there. I tell stories about who we are, what we do, how we do it, and how we impact lives. And if I don't have an understanding of what's behind the curtain, that's a problem. So whether you're a new sales professional in the industry or in this business or an existing one, I believe and there's no accreditation body that does this, and that's shame on them, and I'll tell them that I said that. There needs to be an ongoing operational education for the sales team. Because if we're a critical part, right? We're an essential worker for home infusion therapy sales. So we should have periodic education and training inside of the office. What's the intake process like? What's the revenue cycle process like? What's the claims process like? What's the operations process like? And yes, Get the mask on, get the gloves on, get the cap on, get the gown on, go in and watch them mix. Absolutely. And have them walk you through that. Hey folks, when I first started 28 years ago, I couldn't spell IV. Okay? I had to learn like that. I had to learn by asking clinicians, because I'm not a clinician, questions about drugs and therapy and products and so forth. And I still am doing that, and I'm still doing it here. Okay? I'm a student. You've got to be a student as well. Sorry for the long answer, but that's it.
Great. That's an excellent answer. And then I think we have one more question. You talked about the in-services and being an educational resource. Can you share your opinion on maybe utilizing the clinicians that work in the home infusion office to provide those insights and in-services?
Well, whoever asked that question, I'm going to buy a Chick-fil-A sandwich on your behalf, because that's a great question and you answered it. The answer is yes. Whether you're a clinician or not a clinician, any chance you get to bring your clinicians with you is a game changer for me. I've always said this in our industry because it's the only one I could really say it in, right? You've got these pharmacists, and I always joke and say they wear these white lab coats, right? White lab coats speak really, really well with other white lab coats. So if I get a really good qualified in-service to do face-to-face and even virtual, I've had several pharmacist owners, pharmacists from different locations get on a live in-service, virtual in-service with a referral source, a potential referral source, and it is a game changer. So whenever you can incorporate them in, remember, you're the face, they're the hands. I'm tying those things together because the trust is built in you as a sales professional. Absolutely, absolutely. But it's that caregiver that's behind the curtain, the pharmacist, the pharm tech, the nursing staff. Those are the ones that the referral community want to really gain a better understanding of, and I don't think we utilize that quite enough.
That's great, Ty. I completely agree with you.
As an RN, why wouldn't you?
All right, that was our last question for today. Many thanks to McKesson for their generous sponsorship, and also for Ty for sharing your knowledge with us. As a quick reminder, in order to get CE, please follow the link in the follow-up email to take a short quiz within the 24 hours. On deck for the COVID education series is staff onboarding during the age of COVID. Next Thursday, 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. Please register at NHIA.org. This session is full of information about how pivotal it is to onboard safely during this pandemic. Thank you again to all of our providers and suppliers who are working on the front lines to keep patients safely in the home. We are looking forward to bringing you more education each week during our NHIA COVID series. Enjoy the day.